If you want awesome products at great prices, check out the in the description. Hash a controversial proposal. Bukele's exchange offer and the Venezuelan crisis. El Salvador's President Nayib Bukele ignited a fiery diplomatic clash with Venezuela by proposing a controversial prisoner exchange. 252 Venezuelan migrants deported to El Salvador under the Trump administration for 252 political prisoners held in Venezuela. This audacious offer, delivered via a late-night social media message directly to Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro, has exposed the deep-seated tensions and human rights concerns plaguing both nations. Bukele's proposal, framed as a humanitarian agreement, presented a seemingly straightforward exchange: the repatriation of all 252 Venezuelan migrants, currently incarcerated in El Salvador, in return for the release of an equal number of political prisoners languishing in Venezuelan jails. The offer, while seemingly altruistic on the surface, quickly devolved into a bitter exchange of accusations, highlighting the starkly contrasting narratives surrounding both leaders' human rights records. Venezuela's Attorney General, Tarek William Saab, swiftly rejected Bukele's offer, launching a scathing attack on the Salvadorian president. Saab, in a televised address, labeled Bukele a cynical, narcissistic, and neo-Nazi human trafficker, accusing him of kidnapping the Venezuelan migrants and holding them in a maximum security El Salvadorian prison. He pointed to Bukele's controversial 3-year anti-gang crackdown, which has resulted in the imprisonment of at least 85,000 Salvadorians, many without due process, and the reported deaths of over 360 prisoners, as evidence of Bukele's disregard for human rights. Saab's vehement condemnation painted Bukele's offer not as a humanitarian gesture, but as a cynical attempt to deflect attention from his own government's alleged human rights abuses. The accusation of human trafficking carries significant weight, implying that Bukele's actions extend beyond mere imprisonment and involve exploitative practices against the Venezuelan migrants. Saab's use of such strong language underscores the gravity of the situation and the deep animosity between the two leaders. The characterization of Bukele as a neo-Nazi, further, escalates the rhetoric evoking historical associations with extreme violence and oppression. This exchange exposes the fragility of international relations when human rights become a central point of contention. The accusations leveled by Saab are not merely political maneuvering. They represent a serious challenge to Bukele's legitimacy on the world stage. The international community will be closely watching the unfolding situation, scrutinizing the actions of both governments and assessing the veracity of the accusations. Bukele's offer, however, has found some support within Venezuela's fractured opposition. Leopoldo López, a prominent exiled opposition leader residing in Spain, publicly endorsed the proposal, viewing it as a potential avenue for freeing political prisoners unjustly held by the Maduro regime. This unexpected support from a key opposition figure underscores the complex political landscape within Venezuela, where even those opposed to Maduro may find common ground with a controversial figure like Bukele when it comes to the release of political prisoners. The silence from Maria Corina Machado, another leading opposition figure, however, highlights the divisions within the Venezuelan opposition regarding this controversial proposal. The human rights implications of this situation are profound. The sheer number of Salvadorians imprisoned under Bukele's crackdown raises serious questions about due process and the potential for systemic human rights violations. Similarly, the reported imprisonment of hundreds of political prisoners in Venezuela under Maduro's rule underscores the ongoing authoritarian tendencies of his government. The exchange proposed by Bukele thus becomes a microcosm of the broader human rights struggles within both El Salvador and Venezuela. This diplomatic spat also provides a lens through which to examine the complexities of the Venezuelan political crisis. Maduro's apparent willingness to engage in a public feud with Bukele, highlighting El Salvador's human rights issues, can be interpreted as a deflection tactic, aimed at diverting attention from the severe repression within his own country. By focusing on Bukele's alleged abuses, Maduro seeks to shift the narrative and avoid scrutiny of his own human rights record. The situation is further complicated by the fact that, according to Foro Penal, a Venezuelan human rights group, approximately 900 political prisoners are currently held in Venezuela's jails. These imprisonments largely stem from the crackdown following the 2023 presidential election, where Maduro allegedly ordered the suppression of opposition figures after seemingly losing the election to Edmundo Gonzalez. This crackdown demonstrates the lengths to which Maduro is willing to go to maintain power, further solidifying his image as an authoritarian leader who suppresses dissent. The proposed exchange, therefore, represents more than a simple prisoner swap. It's a complex interaction between two strongmen, showcasing their contrasting leadership styles, their disregard for international norms, and the dire human rights situations in both their countries. The international community must closely monitor the unfolding events and hold both Bukele and Maduro accountable for their actions. The fate of the 252 Venezuelan migrants and the political prisoners in Venezuela hangs in the balance, serving as a stark reminder of the ongoing human rights challenges in Latin America. The lack of a clear resolution and the continued escalation of rhetoric underscore the urgent need for international intervention and a renewed focus on human rights in both El Salvador and Venezuela.